Without further ado, please allow me to welcome the very distinguished and eminent speaker of tonight, Rishi Jain. Rishi is the head of HR analytics at Adani Group, setting up people analytics function for one of India's fastest growing conglomerates. Previous to joining Adani Group, he has led advanced analytics for Schneider Electric people analytics function globally. He has led startups, managed global teams, and set up functions and loves taking up challenges. A very warm welcome to you, Rishi. We are thrilled to have you here with us tonight. Handing the session over to you.
Thanks, Shama, for the wonderful speech and presenting the college. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. So I will start sharing my screen. And we go from here. Let me know once you can see my screen.
We can see your screen, Rishi.
Okay, thank you very much. So hello, everyone. Thank you for taking out time for this wonderful session. I will be going through around 45 minutes on this deck, and then we will stop for any questions. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, feel free to post in the chat. And there are a lot of good things which would be coming out of this presentation, and feel free to ask questions, and hopefully one of you, the lucky one, gets the $200 prize after this session. So creating value through HR data and people analytics. People analytics is a new field which is gaining momentum in India, and abroad it has been there for donkey years, for large number of years. So I recently joined Adani Group, which is one of the India's fastest conglomerate and into a lot of businesses. And here my role is to set up an HR analytics function. Systems are there, processes are there, but to put all the HR functions together and deliver insights is my key role over here. So what we'll be going through today: what is people analytics, its overview, organization. Why is it important that we talk about organization, business, and work? Because they are the key foundations of understanding people analytics and why do people analytics teams exist. Then we will touch upon employee and employee life cycle, because employee is the centric role model for any people analytics team. We would like to understand employee wants, needs, and motivations. And then we will get into the analytics part of employee data and analytics value chain. And last but not the least, something around change management, which is super important. So it is quite possible that you build world-class best models, but till the time they are not put into production, people start using them, they are of no value. And then we look into the top HR KPIs. There are so many KPIs out there, just few KPIs which are very important for most of the businesses. So people analytics. It is a multidisciplinary field. It comes from HR, obviously, which is more like a business, but it is primarily coming from mathematics, technology, and science. And on the background, you can see we have organizational behavior, economics, computer science, HRIS. All these things together are required for a successful people analytics professional and a leader. So technology, why is technology required? Because people analytics was not there a lot of years back, but today with the advent of big data, technology needs to be there. With the role of machine learning and AI, technology plays a key enabler role. And if we look into science, definitely with all the things happening around technology, data science, science is one of the core fields. And last, organizational design, organizational behavior, psychology, all these things need to be tied back with the data, with the big data, in the form of surveys, in the form of questionnaires which are sent, in the form of group discussions which happen with the employees and the leaders in the organization. So all these things together make up a successful people analytics professional. So what is people analytics? Very simply put, people analytics is a discovery, interpretation, and communication of meaningful patterns in workforce related data. So meaningful patterns is super important. We might just have few lines, few graphs coming in, but till the time they're not telling the picture, full picture, and not telling the story, they are of not much use. Moreover, the people analytics dashboards, reports should help the decision makers to uncover some insights and help them to take next actions. So 7 pillars of people analytics. Again, from AIHR, which is one of the best publications out there. So workforce planning analytics. I will speak a bit about each of these 7 pillars and what do they mean and what sort of analysis goes behind the scenes. Workforce planning analytics. As an organization, I would always like to know how would my business workforce look like next year, in next 2 years, in next 5 years. I would like to know what is going to be my cost over time. Would like to know how many people are going to retire. What is the ratio of diverse candidates, might be females or a lot of other ways of diversity. How all these numbers, how all these trends would look like in the coming years. And that is workforce planning analytics. Moreover, it just doesn't stop over there. If we want to take some action, how it would impact my headcount, impact my cost, impact my diversity. So all those things come within workforce planning analytics. Talent sourcing analytics. Talent sourcing. Talent is the new oil. Few people say data is the new oil. Yes, even the employees in this time where we are talking about great resignation period, talent in terms of sourcing, keeping them, motivating them, and making them perform. All these things are super important for any organization. So talent sourcing analytics is becoming super important, where we have so many channels from where we can source the talent. We have LinkedIn, we have Naukri in India, we have referral programs, we have Indeed, we have a lot of channels out there. But again, hiring a talent takes a lot of time. From the process point of view, from the screening point of view, you take so many interviews and so many people are investing their time to hire the best candidate. And it incurs a lot of cost. But if you are unable to source a right candidate, the candidate would leave in some time and all the cost, all the training cost, everything will go for a waste. So talent sourcing becomes very important for organizations. So it might be more important for startups as compared to the full grown organizations, because startups would be at a trajectory of growth as compared to a mature organization. So different organizations might want to attract different talent, might be skilled labor, semi-skilled labor, and this talent sourcing analytics in itself becomes a important field, working closely with the talent acquisition team. So talent acquisition, hiring, are you hiring the right candidates? If yes, how do you measure it? Are you able to attract the right candidates? How do you measure it? So these are a few questions which people analytics professionals need to solve for. Are you providing right onboarding and engagement to the employees? It's important that you can make the employees productive from day one. Are they getting their laptops? Are they getting their access cards? Are they being introduced to the manager, to the HR manager when it happens? A lot of organizations still today are not able to onboard the people for starting couple of days, which creates the first impression problem for the employees. Employee lifetime value, performance management analytics are other important areas where you look into the performance of an employee and see how do you reward the employees, how do you create the career path of employees. Next, talent attrition, people leave, but how can we keep the employees motivated, engaged, perform at their best level is retention analytics. Last but not the least, all of us are talking about wellness, well-being, work-life balance, safety and security in these COVID times. So all these things you will see make together the pillars of people analytics. So people analytics professional works on all these areas depending upon the priority of the organization. Next, what is people analytics? The people on the chat would love to get one word. What do you think about people analytics?
I encourage the audience to post their answers in the chat window. Rishi will move on.
Okay. So what is people analytics? If we look into the text analysis, HR case study, these are the few things which people say that this is HR analytics, this is people analytics. If you want to look further in detail, there are few key areas which we would like to focus upon today. Organization. What is an organization? What is a business? How employees want to be different? And what are the processes, HR processes and different organizational processes which really impact an employee? What are employees really looking for in a work? How are the things trending? So let us look into these few areas as we move forward. So organization. What is an organization? Organization is, we have a lot of employees working together, but that's it. There's a CEO, the people who started the organization or the people who are managing the business. Next, who are the next level of people who are within the organization? So there are a lot of organizational dynamics and design, which is required for medium and large organizations. So an organization is defined as a group of people there for a particular purpose, such as a business or a government department. So they should have a common purpose, but as the organizations become large and large, it becomes difficult to manage them, to have a common purpose, because revenue streams would be different, leaders would be different, employees working in different locations would have a different culture, and hence it becomes important to bring all these pieces together. So few questions in reference to people analytics would be, what should be the size of a people analytics team? Or when does an organization meet a people analytics team? Is it when the organization size is 500 people, 1,000 people, 5,000 people? What is the size of people, size of organization which is required to make it a successful organization, successful people analytics team? So generally, we have seen across the organizations between 1,000 and 5,000 people is the time when organizations need people analytics teams. Next, questions which come up, that what should be the number of levels in an organization? So having a very diverse, very level-wise organization, is it good or bad? For example, I might have a small organization with a startup. Startup is started by a CEO. You might just have 3 levels. But as the organization becomes large, you might have 5 or 10 or 20 levels. But if we keep on having very huge number of levels, the message from the top management gets diluted. And hence, there's an optimum level of layers which are required. Similarly, one manager can have how many reportees? One manager can have 1 reportee, or manager can have 100 reportees. So what is an ideal way for maximum productivity of employees of teams? So this is what an organizational design comprises of, which is also taken care by people analytics team along with other HR professionals. So business, we understood what is an organization, and then organization is there to do some business, to do some economic activity. So in business, people work together to earn a profit. But what happens next? Once those people are working together, the profit needs to be distributed, which means HR processes come into place. How do you distribute, or how do you provide, give the bonuses to the sales employees, to the non-sales employees? How do you give promotion to the employees? Who are the employees who are ready to be made managers? So all these things are part of annual appraisal cycles, where people analytics teams work closely with the business and with the HR professionals to assess the candidates, to provide them appropriate rewards so they are still motivated and perform at the best level, keeping employees happy, motivated, engaged, and organizations in business too. Organizations are there to make a profit. So we can't distribute everything, but there should be a balance in organizational and employee motives. So businesses can be very different, startup, mature organizations, and they might have very different cultures, very different ways of distributing the profits. And hence, people analytics comes into picture to really understand and analyze how the organizations are behaving, how is the performance, how is the rewards mechanism in the organization is behaving, and are there any shortcomings of it? Are people leaving because they are not given enough compensation or rewards, or they are not promoted at the right time? So people analytics teams would work in medium to large organizations solving these problems. Uh, Next point, which becomes super important, that businesses, organizations are something which are going to be perpetual, which are going to always exist, whether the employee comes or employee goes. Businesses, organizations still need to run, which means that incoming of the talent or acquisition of the talent is always an ongoing process. Similarly, people leaving the business, leaving the company is an ongoing business. But the people who are inside the organization, to engage them and to give them good learning opportunities, developing the talent becomes the continuity, becomes the necessity of the business, or becomes part of business continuity. And hence, we need to understand what sort of a work is going to come in future, and appropriately upskill and reskill our employees too. So next, to take care of organizations, of the businesses, it is employees and the leaders who work together. We would have managers, we would have employees. But are all the employees same? No, they are not. They are different in terms of their work and a lot of other things. And hence, right HR policies are required to make them engaged, make them motivated, and make them perform at the best level. But all these employees are very different from each other. Let's see few differences and how it makes the life complicated for the organizations. So generations, in a lot of organizations, as the organizations mature, you would have Gen X, Y, Z, millennials all working together. And we want to keep all of them engaged in the organization. We would have all sort of workers. We would have full-time employees, we would have contract workers, we would have part-time workers, we would have trainees, we would have consultants. And with the new gig economy coming in, it becomes super important that we create a system where all these people coexist. Employees would be at all sort of levels, all sort of grades, hierarchy. And we need to see that all these employees are behaving in the right way. We need to have a check mechanism to make the organizations perform at the right level. We need to have proper rewards and recognition mechanism, and engagement levels should be measured at appropriate times, and action should be taken. For example, let's say we have a factory where employees are not engaged. So it is whose responsibility that all this information is flown to the top management? It is HR's responsibility that the employees are engaged. In case there is some problem at a site and it should be brought to the notice of the management, it is HR's responsibility. And hence, preempting all these things, having the right information systems becomes super important for the success of the organization. We can't be proactive. We can't be just reactive in terms of taking any decisions or actions. We need to be more proactive. And development of the employees is also important. So now let's understand the employees in detail and their life cycle. So employees, first they need to be attracted, then recruitment happens, onboarding happens, then development of employees happens on the job and off the job in terms of learning, and also in terms of different learning programs the employees are put in. And then you retain the employees by giving them proper teams, proper coaching, mentorship, learning opportunities, teams, money, recognition, which is not necessarily just rewards, how much money you give, but there are a lot of other ways also of providing recognition to employees. And then employees eventually leaves. You should have a very smooth exit process that employees are ready to come back to the organization, or they always put a good name of the organization. So all these organization processes need to be combined together to have a seamless employee experience. EX stands for employee experience. Employees can be finicky about anything in the organization. And it is important that we have the right systems which are able to give us the complete landscape of employees, what are they feeling in the entire organization. So employees might not be happy with the IT systems. They might not be happy with the HR systems, how my bills are processed. Okay, thank you. Employees can see, can be unhappy about the IT systems. My laptop is not working, my internet is finicky, or I don't have a mouse, or I have too much security, or I might have not have proper internet, or my Microsoft Teams crashes. All these are basic working conditions which can be hampered throughout the organization or at a specific location. And sooner these things can be fixed, better it is. Organizations might have different, not so good HR systems. They might not have good offices with food, with chairs, with toilets, and all these things really impact employee experience. And hence, all these things should be taken care by the organization. So now we will look into different as what is different, what are people really looking for when they say that each employee is different, every team is different, every individual is different, and HR as an organization, people analytics as an organization should understand each and every employee differently. So let's dive a little bit deep into this different and innovation aspect. So different type of employees are there coexisting in a team. We would, and all these people are required for a successful organization. You can't have all sort of only just coders in the organization to make it successful. You also need quality testers. You also need product managers. You also need architects. So all these people together would make a team. You also need project managers. You also need salespeople. So all these people have different roles and together they make a successful team. So we might have different sort of personalities of people, and all these people are required to do different sort of jobs. For example, you might have a call center. So do you require a PhD person over there? Probably not. It's a strong no. For a call center, do you need a person who is highly educated? No. For building a statistic model, do you just need somebody who is very, very basic in terms of technology? No. So there has to be a right balance for a specific job. And hence we should have right sort of people working on a job. We might have people having different sort of technical skills, but also functional skills. The innovator, problem solver, optimist, leader, the planned one, people who follow, the yes man who just goes and does whatever is asked. So all these people together need to be put together in a successful team. For a successful manager, people analytics team, along with the learning team, leadership team, should understand and assess each and every employee. And then this information should be passed on to managers so that they understand their teams in a much better way and can assign tasks to each and every employee according to their strengths. And hence, we are able to provide all sort of opportunities to employees and make them unique, make them different in terms of having better innovation, better growth, better learning, employees feeling trusted, employees feeling heard, employees having right work-life balance, and overall a good culture. So I've been doing a lot of talking, so it should not be a time check. Yeah. So 10 more minutes, right, Shama?
Yes, and meanwhile, I encourage the audience to post your questions in the Q&A window or in the chat section and let us know what you think about the points that Rishi is making.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll next get into the data and analytics piece, which was the second half of our presentation. So there are a couple of data points which become super important for each HR analytics team member. So there are a few KPIs which the HR leaders, business leaders, the executive leadership all wants to have a look, and they would like to maintain and see their trends over time. Time to hire. So for a fast growing organizations, time to hire, how nicely, how timely you are able to hire the employees. Sometimes organizations might take 6 months to make one hire, or they might take 2 months to make a hire. So which one is better? For a better business, for a growing business, it becomes super important that you are able to hire fast. How much do you inculcate as a cost to hire per person? Even if you are hiring fast, but let's say 50% of the employees are leaving within the 6 months of joining, then it means there is some issue in terms of your onboarding, in terms of your culture, in terms of your job descriptions, which needs to be looked in total. You need to look into time since last promotion. If employees in this dynamic world, in this dynamic environment, are not given enough promotion, not given enough learning opportunities, not given the right type of work where they are able to perform, they would leave. And hence, time since last promotion also becomes important. Most of the organizations, they might not be interested in all sort of employees, but most of the organizations are really interested in high potentials, in high performers, and definitely for them, a lot of these metrics become very important. Time since last promotion. If I have a average or a mediocre performer, uh, and if he or she is not promoted for 2 or 3 years, still okay. But if I have a high performer, consistent high performer, not getting promotions, then it is a problem for an organization, for the manager, that they don't have the right HR information systems where people are not promoted. Revenue per employee, it should eventually increase. For manufacturing organizations, for mining organizations, it becomes super important that as the number of employees increase, the revenue per employee should also increase. The cost per employee reduces and the economies of scale come in. And similarly, for IT organizations, revenue per employee should increase over time. So this is an important metric for the top management. Performance, potential, uh, billable hours per employee. This would be most important for consulting organizations, for organizations which lend their services out. Engagement rating. Most of the organizations have uh, engagement surveys once or twice in a year, where they try to understand the pulse of an employee. It's also called pulse surveys. And these ratings are a benchmark for an organization in terms of where do they stand. We have organizations like Aon Hewitt and more who do these engagement surveys for other organizations. And generally, these surveys are anonymous so that employees are open to tell what they feel about the organization. Lately, the support functions like finance, cost of HR per employee also starts becoming important. Ratio of HR professionals to employee, ratio of HR business partners per employee. These metrics are more important for an HR organization per se. Turnover, what was my turnover and what it is now? Am I increasing in my turnover? Are people leaving? If yes, it might still be okay because all the organizations feel that turnover is good where you get employees leaving the organization. But where they are worried about is regrettable turnover. If my high performers, high potentials leaving the organization, or people who are there for succession planning, it's a problem. And last two things, effectiveness of HR software. We have so many vendors out there for each and everything. We have vendors out there for HR management systems, HR information systems, for rewards, performance, talent acquisition. Even we have so many softwares vendors out there for solving small parts of talent acquisition. Hence, it becomes very important that we should have a HR strategy. We should have a technology roadmap in terms of which products are required and how do they interface or integrate with each other. Otherwise, it becomes very much problematic for the organizations in the long run. And a lot of organizations go overall in terms of changing their softwares. But please remember that HRMS systems, it's super difficult to change any of those because all your employee data, HR data is lying over there. Absenteeism might also be important in different type of organizations where you have contract workers, where you have staffing organizations. If employees are being absent, it might be something to tell that employees are not happy or there is something wrong that the employees are going for leaves. So some sort of leaves are definitely important for employees not to burn out for their well-being, but excessive leaves are directional to some sort of future problems creeping in. Yeah. So analytics value chain. So data, we have talked about data, but how do you put the data in our analytics value chain? So we have descriptive analytics, where you just do the reporting, understanding what happened. Why did it happen? Would be diagnostic. You put multiple parameters together. Then you make it predictive analytics. Why my employees have left would be diagnostic, but predicting that which employees are more prone to leave is predictive analytics. But last, you should always see what should I do to check that my employees are not leaving. I should be taking some action. I should be having one-on-ones with the employees, with their managers, understand what is the problem. And hence it becomes advisory service. In analytics value chain, you will see data format, a lot of things around data, big data, data being structured in the right way are the basic challenges any people analytics leader faces in the starting or any organization faces in the starting. And then once you have these sort of things sorted out, you look for analytics engine, you look for databases, you look for a data lake where all the data can be put together. Interestingly, it is not just about HR data, but we also want to look into the cost, sales of an employee, sales done by an employee. You might have a lot of different programs in terms of the learning, in terms of their development programs, in terms of employees being promoted, in terms of great teams, what makes great teams, and impact of all those things on business outcomes. And hence, data lake is required to put all the sales data, marketing data, cost data into picture. And then implementing change management would require having nice HR systems, right tools, right visualizations with proper security implemented so they can be accessed by the employees, by the managers, and by the HR leaders. So one, data-driven insight. We would have data around demographics, employee, how employees paid, their engagement, performance, ATSR, applicant tracking systems, talent acquisition. You put all this data together, and hence you can understand it's not just one file or one employee data, but all this employee data along with market data. You put all these things together for giving the analysis. So top 5 metrics for any organization: total cost of workforce. How do we know we have the right staff, right number of people? Are they having the right productivity, or are they being rightly engaged? Are they overburdened, or are they underburdened? So both these things are not good for an organization. So organization should understand that whether they have the right staff or not, right number of people to achieve their objectives, and how their workforce is aligned with the business strategy. So everything people do in HR should be aligned with business strategy. So for example, for an organization which is growing very fast, talent acquisition might be a most important thing, because supporting the business in terms of speed of hiring is super important. For an organization which has grown, which is much more mature, talent management, leadership pipeline might be the important things. So people analytics should fit in and help the HR team align with the business and provide insights into the right areas. Otherwise, the person can, people analytics professionals can get lost. So align with the business strategy, and then with the HR strategy, and then deliver the results with employee being at the center. And have always tried to understand what are the sort of people you know, what are their job codes, what are their competencies, and what do you need in future. Put all these things together to make it a workforce planning tool. Understand the management span of control, what makes effective information dissemination in your organization. And if you are having any high performer turnover rate, any issues where your top talent is leaving the organization. Have an eye for all these things just to start with, and then you can look into a lot of other things. So yeah, just to go back and see where are you in terms of your maturity model. How good is your data? Are you having the right data entry systems? Are you having the right repositories? Are you having the reporting platforms? Is your data available in such a way that you can perform any analysis quite fast? So you need to look into the data, systems, processes in case they are influencing the data or making the data in the bad shape. And then you should have the right people, the leadership team, buy into your program, in the people analytics program, to drive the change. And this would be my last slide, that most of the organizations, if you will see in the data analytics marathon, would be starting with the data collection process, preparation, and visualization. So most of the organizations fit in the first curve. And then there are other set of organizations, just 30% organizations, which get into the data analysis phase and insights phase. But there are only 5% of the organizations which take action on the analysis done. So if you want to run a data analytics marathon, be ready and see how you can make this last mile connectivity and take action from the data. So thank you, and I will hand it over back to Shama.
Thank you, Rishi, for that brilliant talk. And audience, here's your chance to ask Rishi your questions. You can either post your questions in the Q&A window, or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. You can ask a question live. We'll give them a few moments, Rishi, before we call it a night.
Yeah, or you can make them unmute all of them if it works.
We have Nivedan who wants to ask you a question. Nivedan, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi Rishi. The presentation was really insightful. So, I work for a startup, and we also face a lot of the issues that you highlighted. So, one of the main problems that we have with hiring is that we don't have a bigger brand. So, the top of the funnel wherein we have the applications coming in, we don't have a lot of applications coming in. So that naturally makes the downstream also less. We don't have a lot of people to choose from. So how can analytics help solve that problem in terms of identifying the right channel or identifying the right talent pool to reach out?
Brilliant. Yeah, a lot of organizations have these problems, and you're not alone. A lot of startups who want to scale fast have these sort of issues. So first thing, a referral program works the best for any organization. So because if you have referral coming in, then the employee, the possible employee is already vouched for. We know the quality of that hired one. Second, just pertaining to your question in terms of how do we create that funnel high. So I think there is something called LinkedIn recruiter license, Naukri recruiter license, and all these licenses. So these licenses are not very expensive, they are cheap. You can get these licenses and get the people CVs in your organization. Now, the strategy or how people analytics teams can help is to understand that where are we as an organization and which sort of employees, which sort of colleges we will be able to attract, right? So a startup might, if it is not very well funded, it might be difficult to go to an IIM or to an IIT. But you can go to tier 2 colleges, you can go to tier 3 colleges. So you will have to create a talent sourcing strategy. For example, let's say you are an IT organization. Now, there are a lot of hackathons which happen, analytics with there and a lot of other places. So from there, you can get very good candidates who can bring in new thought process, hard work, and all these things into your organization. So you will have to create a strategy in terms of colleges you want to hire from, the degrees you want to hire for, the locations from where you want to hire the people. If, for example, let's say you are in Mysore and you hired somebody who is from Delhi, probably that employee is not going to stay long. For example, currently I'm in Ahmedabad, where Adani Group's headquarters is. And it might be really difficult for us to get people from Bangalore or Delhi over here. So we have our own strategy. And similarly, you will have to create a sourcing strategy to hire talent and to attract them.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question on that. With regards to the negotiations that we have, again, since we being a startup, the good quality talent that we do get, they also have other offers with bigger companies. So with bigger organizations like Adani, do they also do negotiation analytics? Like, do they keep a tab on how the negotiations went? And is that also under the analytics radar?
Yeah, very, very good question. So it might be really difficult for any organization to keep track of all the candidates. So we are trying to do something similar to really understand what happened for each and every candidate. How did the interviews go? Where did it break, or where was the possible candidate left? Was it in the initial rounds or later rounds? What was the feedback? Moreover, if there's a candidate who is left in the last rounds, let's say the candidate was put on hold and then somebody else was taken in, then it is important for the organizations to keep track of those resumes, those employees, to see they can possibly be tried for some other opportunity. But again, negotiations are a hard part. They are difficult, and you can't do much about these sort of things. And the talent acquisition teams learn over time to where to have your ceilings and where not to have your ceilings, in terms of how much you can offer. And it is not necessary that you need to hire people at a very high premium. You can also hire people at a lower premium, because they might, you will have to get into the shoes of a candidate and see why is the candidate looking for a change. If you are able to tackle first that problem, you will have to always show that this is what we offer you and why this is better than something else. So yeah, all these things are part and parcel of game. There is no right and wrong answer, but uh, you always need to keep on changing your thresholds to make the systems optimal in terms of time to hire, quality of hire, and different other things.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nivedan, for that question. The next question is from D. I'm sorry you haven't written the full name, but please go ahead and ask your question. Hi, can you ask your question, please? Can you hear me? Okay, the question is in the chat window. In real life as well, most of the information analytics from employees via pulse surveys, for example. We are not very clear with the question. Rishi, do you get the gist of it?
I can give it a try.
Okay.
Give me a sec. Yeah. So, okay, good. Now I get it. Thanks. So the question is more around pulse surveys and why these pulse surveys are not actioned upon. So first thing is the problem with pulse surveys. First problem is that they are anonymous. So I don't know who is saying that for what the person is saying. I don't know that person. One. Second, there are people who work on those action plans, on those what are the employees saying, and try to create the value out of it. But a lot of times we have large organizations like A1 Hewitt and others who would be doing these pulse surveys on behalf of the organization. So when they are doing the pulse surveys on behalf of the organization, they will take, let's say, a couple of weeks to do the survey. And after that, they will be again taking a couple of months, let's say a month or two, to analyze the entire data before it is presented to the management. And once it is presented to the top management, then it is sent to other people down the chain. And hence, it becomes difficult for the HRBP to take some action, because eventually it would have been a couple of months, the pulse surveys would have happened. So that is one. Second, HRBPs might want to take some action, but it is also the systems and the processes. I have seen organizations where action planning, there are 10 people, 20 people, all the managers, all the leadership, they sit in the room and they talk about the action plan. What is the action plan taken? And then each of the managers, each of the HR persons is given an action plan to be actioned upon, to be worked upon. And then every month they come back and see what was the action taken. And next year in the pulse survey, they again take back and see how the things have improved. And we have seen that if, let's say, learning is a problem in an organization, companies making strategy around learning for the organization, but please remember that these strategies are made at a group level, at the entire organization or a department level. And hence, how quickly they can impact an employee is not very agile. It would take some time for things to happen. So this is the way the state is. But now a lot of organizations are coming with, or people analytics teams are helping in organizations to have continuous pulse surveys or understanding the pulse of the employees. There are a lot of CHROs, a lot of HRs who are asking for live dashboards where you would have live information coming in. Live information from your LinkedIn, from your Glassdoor, from your pulse surveys, from your happy surveys, from your what employees are feeling today. So live information from a lot of these things coming in. And there are a lot of case studies where food policy was changed, food vendor was changed, and within a day, the policy was rolled back because they are live mechanisms. So they are still distinct, but with people analytics teams and people analytics team becoming more tech savvy, better integrated with the IT teams, all these things are becoming possible.
I hope that answers your question. Sorry, I was on mute there for a bit. Yeah. Thank you, Rishi, for the great Q&A. But in view of the time constraints, we'll have to conclude the session. And audience, if you have any more questions, you can connect with Rishi on LinkedIn or you can write to us.
So great session, Shama.
Yes,
And
give me a minute.
a lot of good questions coming in. I still see there are a couple of more in the chat.
Yeah.
So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and check out the IPL site. And happy learning.
But Rishi, before we conclude, can we announce the winner out of the two questions that we had? If you could just announce the winner so we can reward them with the Taylor Scholarship.
Yeah. So I would say Nivedan.
Okay. Agreed. Yes. Nivedan, congratulations on winning the Taylor Scholarship. We'll get in touch with you with the reward shortly. We've enjoyed having you with us, Rishi. It's been a complete pleasure. Please accept the certificate of appreciation from the Institute, a small gesture. So if you scan the QR code on the certificate, it will take you to a dedicated Hall of Fame page that we have created for you, which will hold the recording of the session.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So I'll give it a few hours and then the video will be updated and we'll be sharing it the same on the YouTube channel as well. Thank you once again for joining us and sharing your knowledge and insights.
Thank you very much.
Audience, go ahead and let us know your feedback on the session. Please scan the QR code and give your review. Giving you a moment here. Thank you for joining in. It was great interacting with you all. So I'll see you on the 21st, which is the day after tomorrow, for the next session by Dr. Kunal Saxena. And till then, happy learning and stay skilled. Have a great night, folks.